You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and just like any other time, today we have another show lined up for y'all. Today, we have a special guest. She is a writer. She has nearly 40 years of experience being a published writer. She has done many works, and she is still doing amazing work. She has a book that we'll be discussing today, and that book you can find on Amazon is Hands of Gold, One Man's Quest to Find the Silver Lining in Misfortune. And she also has a website that you can visit is RoniRobbins.com. And that's who our guest is, Roni Robbins. So first and foremost, I want to welcome Robin to the show and say, how you doing today? Roni. How you doing today?
Happens all the time. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, you're right, because it rhymes. Roni and Robbins, it rhymes together. So
it's great for an author.
Right. But when it comes to your experience being a writer, you have a very long list on your resume, from being a staff reporter for daily and weekly newspapers, a freelance journalist for national, regional, and online publications. You're currently a freelance reporter for Atlanta Journal, Constitution, and Medscape, WebMD. Former editor at WebMD and associate editor at Atlanta Jewish Times. There's plenty more on your portfolio, but I'll let you jump in here. Kind of share with us a little bit about how you got your career to be at its very respectable position.
So I started out as a journalist in high school, I guess. I don't know if I was a journalist yet, but I wrote most of the copy for the school yearbook. I wrote the opening copy, and then I wrote much of the copy for my high school yearbook as a senior, taking my first journalism class, and that seemed to work out well. And I applied to college. It got a scholarship from New York, no less, to the University of South Carolina. So they had a field day with me and my Yankee accent. But I worked my way up the school newspaper from reporter to editor there, editor of the school newspaper. And then I went out professionally. So it was very logical, and I never really strayed from that. I did stay home to raise my children, but I continued to freelance for publications, including some pretty big ones, New York Daily News, and my stories were picked up by Forbes and Huffington Post. So I might not have gotten that opportunity if I had been working still full time. And I wrote this book while I was raising my children too. So I never really stopped. But after I was done raising my kids, I went back into journalism as an editor and back into full-time journalism, I should say, versus freelance. And now, after about 5 years of being an editor, I'm back being a freelancer again, not raising my kids, but now marketing the book and trying to find time to write my second book. So yes, I started out as a writer in high school and really never stopped being that writer, and still am.
When you think about how you had to transition between roles throughout your career, from reporter to editor to freelancer, that can be challenging to some. And to your point, you started in high school, so you had a very solid foundation. So what was it like, though, being able to handle those different roles and understand the different responsibilities of those roles?
So you just go with the flow. I mean, every day is a new assignment. Every day is a new challenge, whether you're going to meet your deadline or whether you're going to have to ask for an extension or just who's cooperating with you and who's not. And every day is just, I feel like the journalists, they have a lot of information. They have very little information about a lot of subjects because they're changing so often. Every day is something new. Every couple of hours is something new in many cases. So to transition from daily to weekly, weekly was probably I did weekly longer than daily, but daily is very fast paced. I do work for a daily newspaper now, but the pace is for me as a freelancer a little bit less hectic. But I cut my teeth, as they say, or I paid my dues by working really, really nonstop, on a strict deadline. But what you have to do as a weekly reporter is really dive deeper into subjects and add more creativity, I feel. And really get into your community, and it's the same concepts, but you have maybe a little bit more space to work with. You're still producing copy every day, but it might not go out right away. So, and then as far as national or regional or, it just depends on the story, and you just go with the, flow with the waves that come, whatever is available to be written about, and for whatever way they want you to write it, if it's weekly or daily. I think harder than any of this is when I wrote my book. That was a total new area for me. It was based on fact, but it involved a lot of creativity and making up information or making up a dialogue and interviews that I was not used to. So that was a whole different challenge than anything I had ever done in journalism. But I will tell you that I've specialized in business reporting. I've specialized, now I'm a healthcare reporter, and I was previously too, but I've written environmental news. So I've had some specialties over the years. I just think, we are multi-talented, specialists and you write what comes your way.
Once again, listen on Refocused Radio, watching us on YouTube, talking to our guest today, Roni Robbins. And to your point, journalism is something that you do have to use creativity at times, but you also have that structure as well. And having that professional background where you're used to catering to certain audiences, it takes a full circle of a strong foundation. So for the young writers out there who may be watching this or listening to this episode, what's some of the core ingredients that you use in your writing career that maybe the younger generation who aspire to be a journalist can utilize as they are growing in their young professional career?
So I'm actually mentoring a journalism student right now. So I have some experience in this regard. Journalism is not an easy life. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It is when news breaks, you run. It can be very exciting and glamorous. Certainly, the technology and media have like television and Netflix and all of the entertainment media have made it out to seem very glamorous, but it is a lot of hard work, and it's not for somebody who wants a relaxing life, I would say. It takes a lot of grit. It takes persistence and staying on a subject and not letting your sources go. You got to really be great at follow-up. Researching is very important. Every fact should make sure that you've backed up everything that you're saying. But it is definitely strengthens your mind, and makes you, you learn so much every single day. You're packing information into your brain, getting it out to the reader, and then starting again with a new subject. So it can be very exciting. It lets you use your writing talents if that's something that you feel is your strength, I think it's a good career. But you really have to be persistent and understand that it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, and it's not a standard job. It's non-traditional job, but it pays you to write if that's what you're interested in and your talent is.
And transitioning to what inspired you to write your book that people can get on Amazon, Hands of Gold, One Man's Quest to Find the Silver Lining in Misfortune. When you decided that this is a project that you wanted to take on, what sparked the interest? And I know is inspired by true events, true story. So for the audience, kind of explain just how that process went for you.
So it is loosely based on my grandfather's life. And he left cassette tapes to the family that my mom gave to me. He had, so you say sparks because sparks are actually in the book. And the spark for me was the sparks of a relationship that my grandparents had, that they were married 65 years and they died to the date, the exact date, a year apart. And that to me was true romance. And I thought I could definitely build a story around that. Now, that's just one aspect of it. But my grandfather had tuberculosis. So he was in and out of hospitals and rehabilitation for the majority, for a good bit of their lives together, especially at the beginning. And so my grandmother had to be a breadwinner to take care of the family. They had 5 children. And he was also a clinical trial patient for streptomycin, which is still one of the treatments for tuberculosis, which is still in the news today. I'm writing about it today, in fact. So it is still the biggest infectious disease killer in the world. So that, history repeats itself. But my grandmother was the breadwinner at a time when women were not breadwinners. And he was saving lives in that way because he was a clinical trial patient for this experimental treatment that saved his lives and now countless others in the future. And he also was involved in a workplace shooting spree in which he talked to the gunman. And in my book, he actually saved lives, which is not too far of a stretch for that. And it was in the New York Daily News. I told you that I wrote for the Daily News. So the irony of it all in my life. But so there were a few other things that really stood out to me that I thought I could build something about it and I wanted to share with the world.
When you started to write, you had to make a character Sam. And even though this is a book that is fiction, but is inspired by, true life events and from your grandfather's perspective, kind of explain how did you try to create the character Sam and him being the focal point of the book, and also the goat watch that has a very special theme and reason.
Giving it away. Spoiler alert. Yeah, the watch was one of the sparks too.
You have to read it, right?
Yes, you still have to read the book. But I will tell you that the Holocaust is a big part of the book. And my book was published by the largest publisher of Holocaust memoirs in Europe, with some more than 100 titles now, including bestsellers, which I hope to be one of soon. But I will tell you that both my grandparents lost much of their family in the Holocaust. So during the Holocaust, people would hide things from the Nazis, and in this case, they hid something, and it was dug up after the war and returned to my grandfather. So that's, there's some mystery. There's definitely trauma, romance, family struggles, health issues, obstacles to get through, losses, triumphs, and, bittersweet moments. So I won't tell you why I think it's a spoiler alert to even give away some of that. But I will say that it may be tied in with the name of the book. So there you go. You can try to figure out the rest of it. Yeah, but that was one of the pieces, the little drama that you have to read the book to find out. But
yeah, I won't give up too much on the book. But speaking of the Holocaust, when you write about those particular points in any project, for you, how is that emotionally for you? Is that something that you had to prepare yourself to dive into? Because in a lot of cases, topics like that can be taxing for someone to kind of go in and peel back layers of information and research. And for you personally, how was that process like for you trying to go back and think about that?
Well, I don't want to say I separate myself from the information, but even when I write stories about people who've lost, when I write articles, I tend not to try to get emotional about it. Now, you might say, well, that's fine because that's not your family. This is your family. I still think it's pretty distant from me that I never met these people. Obviously, the Holocaust is important in my life, has always been. That was my genre of choice. I don't know. I've always been fascinated by the Holocaust stories. My grandparents never told us much. They kept that from us. So it was interesting to learn this information and know that so much of my family had perished in the Holocaust. But there were some triumphs. I tried to focus on the triumphs versus the losses. There is some definite guilt in the book expressed by the main character. What's it like to lose your whole family and know that you could have done more, or there, but for the grace of God, go I, because he left, before it all happened. And so there's that. But as the characters also, went through their own tragedies, and my grandparents died, and that's in the book, and that's powerful too. So I knew if I was writing this and felt the emotions, that my audience, my readers, would also feel the emotions, and that is actually what I was going for. So to say, did I get emotional? I try to, divorce myself from the emotion and take that out of it as a journalist. So I've already gotten to that point. But if I read it and it made me cry, I knew that I had done a good job of creating the scene for it. And I do get from readers that they were a sobbing mess at the end. But I think that makes for good. I think when I watch a movie and I'm sobbing at the end, I feel like that I've connected with the whole story in that way. And I was looking for that. I want to make them laugh too. There's some funny moments in the book, despite the heaviness of the subject matter. And like I said, history repeats itself. So the Holocaust we still have so much anti-Semitism in the world. We have what's going on in Israel, which was also anti-Semitism and hatred of Jewish people and the state of Israel, or Jewish people who established Israel. Hatred is not just Jewish. It's anyone who's different. So we still have these issues in the news that were going on then, and they're still going on now, unfortunately.
When you look at the response of the novel, it's received several awards, I should say, and looking at how it's been able to impact the whole reading culture, if you will, because there's a big fan base out there of readers, and it's almost like a sea of just opportunity because it's hard to reach all of them. So that's when the marketing comes in play. But for you to see how so far it's been able to touch readers in a way where not only have they responded, but you also have many prestigious platforms that have recognized your work as well on this book. One, how do you feel about that? And two, like, what makes you say, wow, like, I'm on the right path here with this authorship?
Well, considering it took me some 20 years from start to finish, from writing the book and getting, some awards earlier on to actually finding a professional publisher, your words are music to my ears, you summing it up that way. Yes, I'm not quite the person to say rest on my laurels of what I've done. I'm very type A and perfectionist, and yes, I love hearing that people, enjoyed the book after all the sweat and tears that I put into it. And I love that I won awards. It's justification for the efforts that I put in. Of course, the readers saying that they enjoyed the book, is just beautiful to me. It really is a fulfilling feeling to know that I worked so hard on something, and there was this outcome. I'm hoping that I get more hands of gold in golden hands and more people that it catches on like wildfire, that it becomes a bestseller. But it's one step at a time. And, the podcasts is a new avenue for me. So I appreciate you allowing me to be on the show for this purpose. And it really hasn't taken off. So I'm looking for it to. The awards are great. The positive reviews are great. I'm trying to get to the next level with all of that. But yes, I am proud of what I did and continue to be proud of it.
Once again, you're listening and watching on Refocused Radio and talking to our guest, Roni Robbins. You can get the book that we've been discussing, Hands of Gold, One Man's Quest to Find the Silver Lining in Misfortune. The next question for you, I can't believe time is going so fast, but when you look at your experience professionally with journalism and being able to write professionally and understand the do's and don'ts, like the golden rules, if you will, how you structure your work. Was there any influence from that professional background that you believe has contributed towards the success of the book as well?
So in terms of marketing, I would say I know what media are looking for. So I try to target specific times of year, and I target my marketing to what I think that the audience would like based on my experience in journalism, receiving like press releases from others and what sparked my attention. So that's helpful. My background in research is invaluable for this. I can't stress that enough, how much you have to back up what you're saying and make sure. I didn't want to leave anything where the reader would go, that didn't really happen. I really needed to back up everything with research, and before putting it out there for fear of that reaction. So there are a lot of skills that I have as a journalist that from, like I said, just being able to know how people talk to each other, I think is helpful. Now I had to make up dialogue, which was new for me, but I know what it takes to get a reader's attention, keep a reader's attention, and and leave them with something at the end where they're thinking about this and how it resonates with their own personal life. So I guess it's harder to keep that going from in an 80,000 words, story to from a couple of thousand words to 80,000 words. I think it's harder to keep that going. So that was my challenge too, to create little stories within the larger novel. So, to just pull the reader along and, push the reader along, pull or push, whichever it is. But yeah, so there were some challenges, but there were a lot of benefits from my background, working in the writing industry and journalism.
Last question for you is, when people who are new to this book and they go out and check it out, hopefully after today's episode, what do you hope readers will, one, appreciate with the research you did to pull this off, and also just the creative style approach that you put into the book for them to take away? The go watch, I'll leave it at that. They can read the whole book to get that full circle. But just in a nutshell, just what you hope that readers can appreciate just from the project that you put together.
So I would say the comparison with my own life to the book, to the characters in the book, the main character, Sam, would be persistence and determination really pay off for me, sticking with this project for all those years, and finally getting to the finish line. For my grandfather, it was just to get to live his life. He was told he was terminal at 26 and lived till 86. He didn't let people tell him, that what his future was going to be. He made it happen for himself. He had some luck, but he was persistent and he was determined to raise his family in America with more freedoms than he experienced in Europe. And he never gave up despite obstacles, despite these health challenges and financial difficulties and losing all his family most of his family in the Holocaust. He didn't let any of that stop him. His goal was to make sure that his family had strong values and a strong faith, a religion, Judaism, and that they lived a better life than he had lived in Europe with more freedoms. And just that the family would stay together. I think we can learn a lot about that. It's a simple life. He didn't have like a major career, and I feel like that's my focus. But the same concept of never giving up and when you're given a death sentence, okay, now I gotta, this is how I'm going to work my way out of it, or this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I think we in today's, we shy away from what's difficult, and go the easy path a lot. And, but there's something to be said for those that are survivors and persistent, determined to get to their goal, whatever that might be. So I hope that I also transport them to a different time and place for a little respite, and that they walk away inspired to make the most of their own lives. And that's probably a pretty good goal for the book.
Once again, been listening and watching us. I'm Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Roni Robbins. You can go to Amazon, get the book Hands of Gold, One Man's Quest to Find the Silver Lining in Misfortune. You also can be found online. People are interested in following you and seeing you for future updates. What's the best way they can be connected to you?
So my website has more than you would ever want to know about me, my career, the background of the book, and where I'll be next, and what media appearances I've had. when I say media, I mean, whether it's podcast or I've been written about in different newspapers, Jerusalem Post. The book is in the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.'s gift shop. That's all online. It should all be online. But it's RoniRobbins.com. And you got to spell my name right, RoniRobbins. .com, and you can find me on Facebook and X and LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok, either as Roni Robbins, Roni Kane Robbins, Kayne, that's my maiden name, or Hands of Gold novel. I've got many accounts, but hopefully you'll find me. I got 4 Facebooks, but 2 of them are for the book. Hopefully you'll find me. And reach out to me, write reviews if you read the book, and you can find my email there too. So I love to hear from readers, and it helps to pass the word along, and also to get the Hands of Gold in more golden hands, and speak to different groups, book clubs, whether online or in person. So I hope that people will make use of all that. I don't charge, so not yet. So I can be I can lead your book clubs.
Well, once again, go get Roni's book on Amazon, Hands of Gold, One Man's Quest to Find the Silver Lining in Misfortune. And on that note, like we always say, I want to say thank you, Roni, for your time.
Thank you so much. You too.